Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and today we have another request, and it is for the 1967 horror comedy, The Fearless Vampire Killers. Here is your trivia question for today. Aside from the different title, how else can you tell you are watching the American version of this film? The answer will be at the end of this video. Our film starts off in a bleak December winter in Transylvania. We then meet our intrepid heroes, Professor Abronsius, played by Jack McGowran, and his assistant Alfred, played by Roman Polanski. The two of them are in search of vampires and are stopping at an inn for the night. Most of the locals seem pretty tight-lipped about what's actually happening and seem to keep skirting the issue of vampires as much as possible. A servant from a local castle seems to give our duo some hope. Also, some people just start showing up dead, with teeth marks in their body and all of their blood being drained. Also, some pretty obvious evidence is when the innkeeper comes back to life as a vampire. Now, while the professor and Alfred have been spending time at the inn, Alfred has developed feelings for Sarah, the daughter of the innkeeper, played by Sharon Tate. Unfortunately for Alfred, a vampire has snuck in during the night and kidnapped Sarah. Now, Alfred and the professor must travel to a castle that belongs to a count. Count von Krolak, to be specific, played by Ferdy Mayne. So the Count tries to keep the two of them busy and off his trail. He introduces the professor to his vast book collection, and the Count's son Herbert is more than willing to keep an eye on Alfred. Now everything seems to be leading up to a midnight ball where lots of vampires will be in attendance. So will the professor, Alfred, and Sarah be able to escape with their lives and necks intact? Roman Polanski, who plays Alfred in this film, is also the director. Here in America, we know this film as The Fearless Vampire Killers, and there is even a working title of Pardon Me, but Your Teeth Are in My Neck. But the original title for this film over in Europe was Dance of the Vampires. In fact, in 1997, there was a musical adaptation of it that was also called Dance of the Vampires that Polanski actually directed in Austria. Since then, from time to time, it still has shown up as a stage production. The movie was primarily filmed in Austria and at a ski resort in Italy. There's actually a great story as to how Sharon Tate got the role of Sarah. She met with Polanski at a dinner, and there was almost no conversation. Then they would have a second dinner meeting, but this time at Polanski's apartment, where he apparently disappeared for a bit and then burst out of nowhere wearing a scary mask. Apparently, her scream is what won her the role. Sharon Tate was also not the original actress for Sarah. It was originally Jill St. John, but she had to drop out. And apparently at the time that worked out best, as during the film, Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski actually started falling in love and got married soon after. Did you happen to recognize the actor who is playing the character the village idiot? Well, this is Ronald Lacey, who played Taunt in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. There was something that was very impressive that Polanski did in this film. During the ballroom scene at the end of the movie, there's a part where the three human characters are in front of a mirror and you can't see any of the vampires behind them. The way that Polanski did this is he actually had an entire room on the other side of that fake mirror that was copying the one in this room, and then he actually got three body doubles to stand there and be the reflection. And then here is my absolute favorite piece of trivia from this film. Apparently, Polanski had multiple large coffins made during the production, but it was actually on location. So, a lot of tourists in the area were very unnerved seeing all of these coffins being made. So, local hotels actually had to erect signs to assure guests that the area had not been struck by a plague. So, when it comes to the film The Fearless Vampire Killers, it's still very entertaining in my opinion after all these years. And it's definitely a great parody version of a Dracula story. Now, there are also some scenes that are very slow paced, but I still do enjoy the film, so I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, aside from the different title, how else can you tell that you are watching the American version of this film? So, not in every version, but the original version that came to America, the producers decided to add in an animated intro to hopefully help the audience understand the story better. I don't think that they needed it at all. I think the story is fine without it, personally. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote from this movie. A castle without a crypt is like a unicorn without a horn.